Welcome to Phazon Labs, powered by World 1-1, and sponsored by absolutely nobody yet, but it could be you. So if that's a thing that you're interested in, and you like us and we like you, you should have your people talk to our people, and we'll do lunch. Mm-hmm. So, without further ado, I am as always your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me this week is my fellow bounty hunter, Isabel Bramman.
Hello.
And this is Phazon Labs, World 1-1's premier Metroid pitch podcast. And this week, Isabel is bringing you her, not quite pitch, but kind of thoughts and hopes on Prime 4, coming off of having played Doom recently.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this, and what got you going there.
Well, first of all, I haven't played any of the Prime games, which is unfortunate, but I have seen playthroughs of them because I have not been able to find a reasonable copy of the Prime trilogy, and I don't have a Wii U, which I should probably get, but anyway. But what I have been playing recently is Doom Eternal on Switch, which has been a lot of fun, if really hard. And it's actually my first FPS game, which I was not expecting to be playing Doom Eternal as my first FPS game. But as I was playing through it got me thinking about what Doom Eternal's combat is like, and it made me think about some things that could translate over to the Prime series, especially Metroid Prime 4, in terms of like kind of how things work in sort of Doom. And first of all, Doom uses the dual analog stick controls instead of the lock-on, like what Metroid Prime does, I think, which makes it really easy to move around. You can turn around really quickly, and you don't have to worry about, accidentally, locking onto an enemy and not being able to move away from them. So sometimes if you're like me, though, you end up accidentally spinning into a wall, but, if you're a good player, that doesn't really matter. But there are some things that I wrote down that I think would be really interesting, and one of them is a dash mechanic. Doom Eternal has a dash mechanic where you get 2 dashes, so you can move around the combat arenas really fast, and you can also use it for platforming and stuff that I think would be really useful.
Well, you've kind of got that in Prime already.
Yeah.
You've got a boost on the strafing. Plus you've also got the boost ball.
Yeah.
So it's kind of there.
Yeah. This one is a little more traditional, just dash that you can use with the press of a button, and you don't have to worry about. You can use it in any direction that you want. But yeah. And then one of the things that I think would be interesting is that if you hold down the R button, you bring up the weapon wheel, and you can switch weapons. And I think that would be a really interesting mechanic to be able to switch your beams. What do you think about that?
It almost feels superfluous no matter which direction you go with it, at least as far as a weapon wheel goes. Because if you're looking at Prime 1 and 2, it's already mapped to the C stick. To just, quick change between your different beams. And then, you got into Prime 3, and it went back to classic 2D style where all the beams stacked. So there wasn't anything to switch between.
I think that would be interesting, though. The
dash I could see.
Yeah.
Especially with what's coming with Dread with the flash shift, to maybe be able to have to play with that idea in a 3D space could be really interesting.
Yeah, especially because like Doom Eternal is like all about mobility on the battlefield. Like they have like monkey bars and that kind of stuff that you can swing around all over the battlefield, and you can like stomp on enemies from above and that kind of thing. You actually get like achievements if you hit a certain number of enemies from the air and that kind of thing. Yeah. So another thing that I think would be funny would be to let Samus punch enemies, because you can punch enemies in Doom Eternal, and you get like a special thing called a blood punch, which if you get like a certain number of glory kills, you can blood punch enemies, and that is like an insta kill. And like obviously this wouldn't be the same thing in Prime, but I do want to see like an ability that brings
some
the
sort of melee
counter. Yeah, the melee counter back in a 3D space, I think would be funny. Or
no, I agree, honestly. Like that's one of my very few nitpicks with the Prime games, honestly, is there is no melee. I'm like, really? Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be something that would be, especially with Samus Returns and Dread having the melee counter, I think that would be a really good opportunity to bring it to
Even
Prime
other M.
4. Yeah, and even other M. That's true. That's true. That it would be a way to implement the melee counter, but bring it back in like a 3D space. And that's why I was thinking of like the punch mechanic, that you would map it to the left arm instead of the cannon, so that way then you could punch enemies and then you could shoot them, kind of thing.
Right, like some kind of knockback at least.
Yeah. And then I think one of the interesting things in Doom Eternal is that they have this weapon modifications where your weapons, you can add like different mods to them. So like, for example, like your plasma beam, you can have like a microwave beam or a heat wave, and both of those do like different types of damage, so you could switch between the two. And I think it would be interesting if you could collect those in the world, and then you could be like, again, like in the weapon wheel, you could be like, I want to switch to, like flamethrower, but, like superheated or something like that. That kind of thing. That's kind of what I was leaning more towards with the weapon wheel, that you could switch between the weapon mods and that kind of stuff for your beams.
See, I'm not disagreeing with you here. I do think, though, instead of like the weapon wheel, you go maybe more this almost sounds more the BioShock route to me, where it's, you've got your different weapons, but then there's different ammo for those weapons, where, like each one has the stock ammo and then two variants, depending on the weapon, be it, explosive, incendiary, an electric charge. So I could see some variation like that in the mix would be good. Especially would allow for not just more variety in combat, but also more options in terms of puzzle solving stuff too.
Yeah. Like I could see that you would even be able like to have limited amounts of ammo again, and like with with Prime 2, but like have like super, because there's the BFG 9000 in Doom Eternal that uses Argent energy, which is a really rare one. So it's kind of like a weapon that you can only really use if you're super desperate or you just really want to use it like as a last resort. So it'd be interesting if they went that kind of route where they had like a super powered, kind of like the Omega Cannon in Dread, where you have like a super powerful weapon, but you could only use like a very limited amount of ammo for it. And yeah, that
That,
would
or
be
let me pitch you an alternative idea on that.
okay.
What if there were some environmental factors in play where in certain environments or areas there's something going on that would either modify, enhance, or maybe warp, or even like nerf different beams depending on the the environmental factors around.
Like if you were in a super cold area, your flame would become even more powerful. Your flamethrower would become even more powerful, maybe.
That, or potentially even less potent, just because it's being nerfed by the freezing cold around it in the environment. But the ice beam, on the other hand, could be hella powerful there. Because at that point you're essentially doubling down on an environmental hazard in a concentrated weaponized form.
It almost makes me think of like Breath of the Wild, like how like if you use like a fire weapon in a cold area, it's more effective, and like an ice weapon in the desert, it's more effective. That kind of thing. So, yeah.
Or imagine, in a superheated area, your ice beam could, say, be unable to actually freeze anybody because it's already hot as shit, and said ice will just melt. Or, if it's insanely superheated enough that the moment that ice beam shot is off, that ice is already melting into water and it's just become useless and nerfed until you get out of that area. And so you've got to find a different way to solve your problem.
Yeah, I do like that idea of the kind of the puzzle element. Yeah, because there are definitely like ways that you could play around with weapons having like certain weaknesses as well. That could play to more like almost like type advantages in combat as well. Yeah, I like that idea. And then I do like the grapple beam concept that they have, especially in like Prime 3.
Oh God, yes, that was fantastic.
But I like the idea that they have in Doom Eternal, which is the meat hook combination with the super shotgun, where you shoot out the meat hook and it connects to an enemy, and then it will pull you towards the enemy, and then you can shoot them. And I think that would be a really interesting take on the grapple beam, that you would be able to pull yourself towards enemies and shoot them, and I think that would bring a lot more mobility, variety to the game with that. And then it would also be kind of hard to implement, but it, like if they could somehow combine it so you could be able to pull off armor like Prime 3, but then also like be able to pull yourself toward an enemy. Somehow like maybe like switching between the two, like a pull, like a magnet sort of grapple beam, maybe like where your polarity is reversed, maybe. So that'd be interesting.
Next thing you're gonna tell me is that you got to reverse the neutron flow too.
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry, that's the sci-fi staple. As soon as I heard, reversing the polarity, like,
But yeah, that one is because on the Switch the shoot is mapped to ZR, and so that one you can like easily, I think, imagine that being on the Switch, and then the grapple beam is like the grapple for the meat hook is grip map to ZL. So I could easily imagine that being the same for, like a grapple beam shoot combo for Prime 4.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think about, because one thing that I do not really like about Doom Eternal is its platforming puzzles. Is they're very pixel perfect, and they like to kill me. Because they're in first person and because there's the dual analog stick, is that if you jump and then accidentally nudge the right analog stick as you're moving, your whole like momentum gets disrupted. So I end up getting like not able to hit the ledge and climb up on it sometimes, and that's frustrating. So I hope that they're a little more generous with platforming in Prime.
They always have been.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, I've never had an issue with the platforming in Prime.
But yeah, that's
always been exceptionally competent.
Yeah, that's kind of my main complaint with Doom Eternal, is just the platforming is good. It's just because it's in first person, my brain struggles with it. So,
Well, and some games figure out how to get around that a little better than others.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like as though it's kind of been the platforming in Doom Eternal has been a holdover from Doom 2016. And there were some complaints about that as well. So, it's just, they seem to have refined it, but it's still kind of like first person
not quite
platforming.
Perfect, it's just better.
Yeah, it's just first person platforming is difficult to make, I think, perfect.
Oh, it's agreed.
So because of that first person perspective. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think of like a game that did first person platforming well, and the only one that I can really think of was the Dishonored series. But yeah, that was kind of a more forgiving first person platforming. So, but yeah.
I would say Mirror's Edge and Ghost Runner as well.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge. Well. Yeah, Mirror's Edge too. That was also, yeah. But yeah, those. So it is possible to make good first-person platforming. I just think that was lower on the priority list than making the combat good.
Right. Which is understandable considering.
Yeah. So yeah. And then when it comes to like enemies, they have like certain classes. They have like smaller enemies that you can kind of farm for like weapons, or not weapons, or ammo and like health. And then they have like bigger enemies like the heavies that you can that are generally tougher to fight, but they all each have their own kind of unique capabilities.
Right.
So I think that having that kind of would be interesting, is that as you're running around this arena, fighting like Chozo ghosts or whatever, there would be like smaller enemies that you would be able to hit and get some ammo, but they're also trying to attack you and that kind of thing. So it just adds to the general chaos of the battlefield. So, but because one thing that Doom Eternal does is it just does chaos really well. So, but,
yeah. I don't know. My gut says though that Prime 4 is just not going to go that direction. It feels very outside of the series motif, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely think that they won't go quite this route. I just think like if they even just implement like a dash mechanic and like upgrade the grapple beam to make it a little more, like interesting, I guess, the how it works in like Doom Eternal. I think that would be really cool.
Granted, I liked what they did with the grapple beam and corruption, though, because they did several things with it, and all of them were very enjoyable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like you could use it for puzzles. And then the one thing that I can remember is you could rip off like their shields of the pirates and that kind of stuff.
There was that, and 10, 15-year-old spoiler here, but when you got closer to the end game, there was another upgrade that actually let you use the grapple beam as a life drain on enemies. So,
yeah, I do like that one a lot.
Which that also factored into some of the puzzle mechanics as well, where that life drain capability went both ways, where you could drain the life out of an enemy with it, or you could drain some of your own health to charge up other things. And I really thought that was wonderfully clever. Like, honestly, that's the closest we've seen them doing anything with the grapple beam to the Dragon fight since then.
Yeah.
Especially considering, too, the grapple beam wasn't in Fusion.
No, it wasn't.
Or Zero Mission.
Nope.
So, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just used as, like you can pull down like the Zeta Metroids and Samus Returns and stuff, but that's pretty much it.
There's some block moving with it too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think that they could go do more with it even. So
agreed.
So yeah,
I'd like to see them do more with it. Honestly, I would really like it if Prime 4 went the Twilight Princess route, and I got to play with a dual grapple beam.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Because the double hook shot in Twilight Princess was awesome.
Yeah, because you can attach it to the arm cannon as well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I know.
Well, and that's another thing too, is that kind of depended on which game you were playing as to whether or not it was a periphery of the arm cannon or it was a separate attachment on her left arm.
Yeah. I think I kind of want it in the Prime games. I think I kind of want it to be on a left arm.
I do too, and I like one that it leaves her weapon arm open for being able to do essentially mid-air combat, and two, I really like the design of like the grapple beam generator on her left arm. It always just looked really slick to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And then I think one thing that I would like to see come back that was used in Prime 3 was you could put stickers on Samus's ship. And it ties into Doom Eternal. You can find toys around the world. So I would like to be able to find secrets in Prime 4 and bedeck Samus's ship with stickers and toys and like in Mario Odyssey where you can like decorate all sorts of stuff in the ship and that kind of thing. So I would like that. So
There was technically one toy that you could get and stick on Samus's dashboard in her gunship in Prime 3. There was a bobblehead.
was it a Mario one?
No, it was actually I believe you could get a bobblehead of one of your Miis.
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
It was kind of hilarious.
I do like that. That's very like it seems kind of out of character that it would be bedecked, having a ship of a bounty hunter bedecked with stickers and stuff, but you know, then again, like, Doom is about a space marine that hunts down demons, and he has a pet rabbit, so anything can happen. So I think that I would like to see the stickers and collectibles come back. So
yeah, I would say I always thought it was cool too, the way they did the stickers in Prime 3 was that it was reading off of your system memory, and you would get stickers for essentially like all the assorted first party Nintendo games that you had save files for on your Wii. So
yeah,
that always made me chuckle. I thought that was clever as shit.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun to bring that back for Prime 4, that it would read all your saves again, and then you bedeck my ship with Xenoblade and WarioWare or whatever, that kind of thing. So
and it was totally optional too. So for that first run through, you turn that off because you don't want to break the
immersion.
Yeah, exactly.
But then after that, then it's go crazy time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Abso-fraggin-lutely.
So I do want that to come back, definitely. So
I do too.
And then I think that's pretty much kind of my thoughts on if they decided to implement more stuff from the only other first person shooter that I played into Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, there we go.
No, I think there's some solid thoughts in there, definitely. I will say, you and I clearly disagree on a few things, but I think the fundamentals are there, and some of it's honestly just a matter of taste as well, which is not, inherently a bad thing. So, but I think that means we've hit a good place to wrap this up for the week. So, without further ado, then, I want to say thank you to everybody that came and hung out with us this week. Thank you to my partner in crime, Isabel Bramman. And that should about wrap it up, and we'll see you back here next week. So say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Peace.